Most people will have heard that while he lay expiring in a Paris hotel, Oscar Wilde famously uttered one last quip about duelling to the death with his wallpaper. He said, or he wrote rather, "My wallpaper and I are fighting a duel to the death. One of us has to go." Well, we all know who won. But Oscar Wilde's passion for wallpaper was not new. In fact, during his lectures in America and also in the UK, he frequently spoke about the virtues and benefits of wallpaper. And in a letter to his friend William Arthur Smith Benson from Tite Street on 16th of May 1985, he wrote about the same subject. Benson, if you want to know, was an architect and a metalwork designer. He was also Edward Burne-Jones's model for the Pygmalion picture, so he must have been pretty handsome. Anyway, Oscar writes, "My dear Benson, I don't at all agree with you about the decorative value of Morris's wallpapers. They seem to me often deficient in real beauty or colour. This may be due, as you say, to his workmen, but art admits of no excuses of that kind. Then, as regards the design, he is far more successful with those designs which are meant for textures which hang in folds, than for those designs which have to be seen flat on a stretched material, a fact which may be due to the origin of many of his patterns, but which is still a fact. Setting aside, however, a point on which we were sure, for obvious reasons, to disagree," and only Oscar Wilde could frame it like this, "I am surprised to find we are at such variance on the question of the value of pure colour on the walls of a room. No one, I think, would paint a room in distemper entirely. For the ceiling and the upper parts of the wall, distemper is excellent. For the lower part, as for the woodwork, one uses oil paint, which has the great advantage of being cleanable, if there is such a word. Nor are the colours one gets in distemper and oils necessarily spoiled by the introduction of silk embroideries or oil pictures. These things depend entirely on the scheme of colour one selects for the room and on one's own knowledge of colour harmonies. I have, for instance, a dining room done in different shades of white, with white curtains embroidered in yellow silk. The effect is absolutely delightful and the room is beautiful. I have seen far more rooms spoiled by wallpapers than by anything else. When everything is covered with a design, the room is restless and the eye disturbed. A good picture is always improved by being hung on a coloured surface that suits it, or by being placed in surroundings which are harmonious to it. But the delicacy of a line in an etching, for instance, is often spoiled by the necessarily broad, if not coarse, pattern on a block-printed wallpaper. My eye requires in a room a resting place of pure colour, and I prefer to keep design for more delicate materials than papers. For embroidery, for instance, paper in itself is not a lovely material, and the only papers which I ever use now are the Japanese gold ones. They are exceedingly decorative and, no English paper can compete with them, either for beauty or for practical wear. With these and with colour in oil and distemper, a lovely house can be made. Some day, if you do us the pleasure of calling, I will show you a little room with a blue ceiling and frieze, yellow oil walls and white woodwork and fittings, which is joyous and exquisite, the only piece of design being the Morris blue and white curtains and a white and yellow silk coverlet. I hope, and in my lectures always try and bring it about, that people will study the value of pure colour more than they do. The ugly ceilings of modern houses are often due to the excessive use of wallpapers, and I do not think Morris himself sets the exaggerated value on wallpapers, which you do. Anybody with a real artistic sense must see the value and repose of pure colour, and even taking the matter in a practical light, wallpapers collect dirt and dust to a great extent and cannot be cleaned. They are economical and often pretty and charming, but they are not the final word of art in decoration by any means. I hope they will be used much less frequently than they are, and that Morris will devote his time, as I think he is doing, to textile fabrics, their dyes and their designs, and not so much to a form of wall decoration, which has its value, of course, but whose value has been overestimated and whose use is often misunderstood. Oscar Wilde continues, I saw Frank the other day at Oxford. Frank was Benson's brother, he was an actor. It was a charming performance and lovely costumes. He seemed very pleased, and so was I. Believe me, very truly yours, Oscar.